I don't know that came through the microphone. You should do it one more time, and I'm just gonna clap at the same time you do, so you can sync stuff up. So I'm watching you. Like, give me a 3, 2, 1.
3, 2, 1.
That'll make syncing things fantastic. Okay.
Thank you, Dean, for the participation. Hello and welcome to the Sweet Tea Shakespeare podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Jetson Clark, and with me today I have two wonderful human beings, Jake French and Dean Dibling, here with us today. They are the superstars from our Christmas annual cantata, Behold, and we are super excited to talk to you about that today. Say hi, homies. What's up?
Hey, homies, what's up? I've never been a superstar before.
Oh, this is his little spotlight, his little moment.
It's like being on the cover of the Rolling Stone.
Exactly.
Finally made it, man.
You did it.
I am in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Shut up.
It's less exciting than it sounds. I was visiting there last summer, and they have a place where you can create your own branding stickers. So I printed out my band name on a sticker and stuck it on the wall. So now I'm on the wall of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
But that's legit. You're official. Congratulations.
Oh yeah, super official.
So like I said before, this is the Sweet Tea Shakespeare podcast where we're talking about everything Shakespeare, all your favorite teas, and everything sweet in the world. And I keep writing that in my little intro, even though I've yet to talk about teas. It might be this episode, it might not be. We'll see. Sweet Tea Shakespeare is a nonprofit theater company and training ground inspired by Shakespeare and the early modern period in its spirit and operations, based in Fayetteville, Raleigh, North Carolina. Fayetteville and Raleigh, North Carolina.
Yep.
Oh no!
All of those combinations.
So here on the podcast, we bring in a guest or two in this case and get a closer look on what makes sweet tea possible. You can catch this episode as a video podcast on YouTube, or if you just want the audio, if you're driving, like my friend Dean down there, you can catch us on all your favorite podcast services such as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Amazon Music. Today's episode is made possible by a number of delightful people, such as the folks at the Capitol Encore Academy, Napkins, which is the restaurant, which coincidentally has napkins. Good for them. The Arts Council of North Carolina and Fayetteville, and Homelight. We'll talk more about them later in the episode. But for today, we're here talking about Behold. So I want to hear from, let's say, Jake first, and then I'll go, after a little lull, we'll go to Dean. I want to hear about what is Behold in your guys' words, because you guys are the experts, not me. I'm just here to be funny and cool. Tell me about Behold. What is it about?
What is Behold? So Behold is the elevator pitch is it's our annual Christmas concert. We've done it now for some amount of years that is greater than 5, but perhaps less than 7. I don't remember exactly the first year that we did it. But it is largely, I would brand it as like contemporary worship music genre of nativity music, telling the Christmas tale, if you will. It's largely based on music by Andrew Peterson. He has an album called Behold the Lamb of God, which we play most of, and then we add in the sweet tea flair of a few other songs that we really like, and some artistic presentation, and sometimes some reading, and a lot of times some mistakes, and some creative lighting, and a good setting. So that's what Behold is. It's mainly an excuse to come and listen to some good music and get yourself in the Christmas spirit. It's one of the things I look forward to most every year. So I'm thrilled to be along again for the ride this year. Does that answer the question? That's what Behold is.
That was perfect. Love that. All right, good luck, Dean. What is Behold to you?
What he said, that's what I would say. But actually, it's got to be longer than that, Jake, because unless I've lost count, this is my 6th Behold.
Really? I mean, what's time anymore? Let's see. So, well, my first year with the company was 14 to 21 is 7 years. So this is year 8 with me. I don't think we did it the first year. I don't know. It's somewhere in there.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Jeremy will have to tell us for sure.
Yeah.
Behold was my first show with Sweet Tea.
Yeah,
really.
I had gone to see one of the lit series shows. It was Midsummer Lit Dream or whatever it was called.
Yep. I might be able to.
Having gotten lit at the lit show, I came up and asked if I could play in the band, and you said yes. So, and then the next thing on the schedule was Behold. So that's how it started for me. So.
All right, so I'm going to figure this out because I have, amongst the many other things that I've done for this company through the years, I did a lot of artwork for like posters and whatnot. So I should be able to find, because that was it Lit Summer, or was it As You Like It? Was Dean? Which one did you come and see? Dean has frozen.
No, it was Midsummer.
It was
Midsummer.
It was Lit Summer. Okay. Yeah, so this is a very exciting part of the podcast where I look through records and try to find what year it was.
Yeah, see, my next step on the docket is to hire a fact checker for me that sits right next to me and like pokes me on the shoulder and smacks me in the face when I get things wrong.
So Lit Summer was 2017, fall of 2017. So that means that the 2017 Behold would have been your first Behold.
Yeah. So that's 6.
Yeah.
That's 6 for me.
Yeah. And a couple more for me. So we've been doing it for a while in various combinations of people as they're available, and various presentations as world events allowed, whether in person or recorded or whatever. So yeah.
Jake, were you there when it started? Were you there from ground zero?
Of Behold, yes. Yeah, I was part of the inaugural Sweet Tea Behold group.
Wow.
There's a few other folks who've been around for that amount of time too, and many folks have moved on or are in other places in their lives. But the first year, I remember the first year, Jeremy Feebig, who I'm sure you've talked to on this podcast before, our artistic director.
No, very close. We're close to his episode, but
we haven't talked to him yet.
We're not. The world is not ready for Jeremy.
You will soon talk to Jeremy Feebig. He pitched it to us. I think after. So this is where I sound probably a little self-important, and I don't want it to come off that way. But I think it was after I came into the company that he realized maybe we could pull it off, because we'd started to maybe lean on music a bit more than we had before as a company. Not because I'm special in any way, other than I was around and willing to be committed. Take that for every phrase you can interpret it. So I think that was like, oh, we've got maybe some folks who can pull this off, and it was his idea to kind of do it. In the first year, we really did. I'm going to now call it the Vanilla Behold, which is just the music that was based on the original presentation. And it was fine. It was great. It was, I mean, none of it was amplified. There were other people around. We didn't have a drummer, so someone who kind of tried to play the drums banged some stuff out on the cajon, which was our. For those out there who don't know what a cajon is, it's a wooden box that is played quite well by people who know how, but poorly by the rest of us,
myself included.
So it was we'll call it a skeleton crew, but it was a lot of fun, and then we've just kind of improved and changed things every presentation since. So when Dean approached me after a lit show and was like, "Hey, I play music. Can I come play music?" I was like, "I've got the perfect idea of a way that you can play music." And that was the first year. I was like, "Dean, come on, man, let's go." And then now he is also, like me, someone who cannot escape the madness and is willing to be committed, or at least should.
Absolutely.
That was the year we had that couch that we lined up all the stringed instruments on. There was like 15 or 16 or some crazy number like that.
There's a I'm gonna say relatively famous, but I just mean in the Sweet Tea Behold circle, which is a admittedly small clique of people to be famous in. But okay, so in the weeds of Behold, like, I'm playing guitar for this show, right? It's the instrument I'm probably the best on, so that's what I play. But I'm playing 3 of them, because if you're out there and you're not a guitar player, you might not realize this, but different tunes require different tunings of the strings on the said guitar, right? Sometimes it's fast enough you can just twist the little knobs on the end and all of a sudden magically be in your altered tuning. Other times it takes a significant amount of time to change those tunings. And the songs that Behold includes require 3 very different tunings. So I'm juggling 3 guitars through the show. So finish this song, set it down, pick up a different one, right? So
Right.
there's 3 guitars for me. The year that Dean came, he brought 2 separate guitars also because he didn't need them for tuning, but he wanted to be fancy and show off with his 12-string and his 6-string. He brought those, and then I had another friend in playing some electric guitar pieces. And another thing that people out there probably realize, if you suffer from having a guitar player in your life, you will know that guitar players like to have a lot of guitars. My rack is empty right now because they're all, oh no, there's my electric guitar, but the rest of them are all at Behold right now, waiting for rehearsal, or that would be full of things. So our electric guitar player, even though he didn't need different tunings, he was like, I'm going to bring like 4 of them. I just want to play each song. I'm going to play one. And then we had Marie's cello and a violin. I think we had another cello and another violin that year. And I think there was a mandolin there, and we just kind of laid them all out on a couch and took a picture of all of the instruments. I had it as my desktop background for a good amount of time, but we've scaled it.
Forward that to me and I'll share it out. I'll see if I can throw it in a video or something.
You'll have to remind me to do that because I'll forget.
Yeah, sure. Sure. I'm envious because my dad's a drummer, but my mom is kind of like borderline tone deaf, which is a very awful word to call someone, but she calls herself that, so that's why I felt
sorry, Judson's mom that. He said it, we didn't say it, he said it.
And so I am very much a product of my parents, to where I can hear music, I can read sheet music, I can do all that jazz, but translating it into an instrument or even my voice is where it like gets messed up and stuff. So it's very annoying. It's quite the conundrum, and maybe one day I'll take lessons and I'll learn something. I learned ukulele, and that's very much out of tune and collecting dust on my shelf, but you know, maybe one day.
These strummed stringed instruments like guitars and probably even the bass, you don't have to read music to play them. Lots of very famous guitar players don't read music at all and just play by either ear or tablature. I prefer not to sing. I like to hide behind the guitar because then I don't have to sing, but then I end up singing stuff anyway because nobody else wants to sing either. Dean has his first solo in this show. He's singing a song all by himself. No.
Are you serious?
Yeah, wow. He doesn't know it yet, but he is.
Oh yeah. that was today's rehearsal.
This will be the end of Behold. Then this will just shut it down completely.
This will be the last hurrah.
Yeah.
So tell me about. Oh, sorry. Go ahead if you're.
Oh no, I was just you go. I was just segueing into something else, but you have actual questions, please.
Well, we're talking about instruments, and you guys are clearly musicians. So, like, if you can recall, like, off the top of your head, your first like exposure to getting your hands on the instrument, whether it's the one you play now or whether it was the triangle in elementary school, or for me it was the recorder in 5th grade, learning what was the canned hams? What was it called?
Hot cross buns is
hot cross bun. That's definitely not canned hams, but
3 canned
very
hams.
Similar to
3 canned hams. Yeah. That's
wow.
It's a great album name though.
Thank you.
Canned Hams. It might be a good band name. What kind of music is Canned Hams? Probably modern punk.
Yeah, I'd say punk.
I'm gonna let Dean go first because between the 3 of us
something with brown sugar.
Between the 3 of us, Dean's the one who's like an actual professional musician, so I'm gonna let him go first.
Yeah, not anymore. But I started playing piano actually. My parents, I don't know why, but my mom plays piano, or did. I haven't heard her play in a long time, but they had a piano in the house when I was growing up, and I would just bang on it, and eventually, after enough banging on it, it started to sound all right. I had a couple of lessons here and there, but I mean, for the most part, it was just me figuring stuff out. But I was in choirs and stuff in school, and I learned to read music and then just kind of translated it. Then when I went to college, I went to college initially in Chicago, which is, of course, is a big musical center, especially for the blues, which is what was appealed a lot to me when I was younger. and there were two guys on my dorm floor that played guitar pretty well. And they would get together and play every once in a while, and I was kind of hanging out with them and just looking, and the one of them brought in a spare guitar that he had. Like Jake said, a guitar player is never without guitars, but he loaned me one for the rest of the year, and that pretty much shot the rest of my school year. I didn't go back to school that year. It took me a while before I finished college, but that started me down the wayward path. So I when I got home and I was working, and I saved up money and I bought my first guitar. And that was a long time ago. That was 86. So
when in that trajectory did you learn to play the bass? Because I think a lot of folks would recognize you. I have a tendency to put you on the bass because I never have a bass player, so I always make you play the bass more than the guitar.
I actually, it's funny because and this is strange too, when I was growing up in like middle school and high school, I listened to the Beatles a lot, which is kind of that's the late 70s, early to mid 80s when I was in that time frame. And I love, for whatever reason, the bass lines always just stood out to me. I love Paul McCartney's playing, and I never played bass though, and probably it was for a Sweet Tea show. I had bought a bass in it was around 2012, but I just kind of fiddled with it. I never played anywhere. And then there was
it's probably me. I was probably like, hey, can you play the bass?
No, it was that music. What was that musical?
Sweeney?
No, Songs.
Oh, Songs for a New World. Yeah.
Songs for a New World, right.
Yeah.
And they needed somebody to play bass, and I'm like, well, I probably can. So I did.
Just with lower 4 strings on the guitar, how hard can it be?
Right. I mean, it's the same tuning and everything. So, and I could read bass clef. I sang bass actually in high school. So it wasn't that big of a deal. But I really do enjoy playing bass. I don't know. It goes back to the Beatles, Paul McCartney. So.
Well, I think I was going to say people don't realize, but maybe they do. I don't know. I feel like the bass is an often overlooked instrument in a band because like everybody knows the drummer and everybody knows the lead guitar player, but like the bass is super critical. As soon as you don't have one, or you don't have one who knows what they're doing, like you can tell when you're listening to music. Like it's a really important part of the rhythm section. So I'm glad to have him along. You did, however, you cut out a large section of your life where you were a paid touring professional musician.
Wow. He's a humble man.
I ended up joining the Army bands. I mean, to be in the Army bands, you join the Army, go to boot camp and all that. And then I did that for about 9 years. Which was interesting. I played a lot of concert band music, not guitar. I would play auxiliary percussion and stuff like that. But we played like a rock band, we played country band, Dixieland band, jazz music. So it was really a pretty great exposure for me because you didn't just play one thing. You had to be kind of versed in all sorts of genres, musical genres, and I mean, it was a good time.
Those are the bands that, like, especially around where Sweet Tea is locally, being so close to Fort Bragg, those bands, the ones you were in, I suspect, Dean, are the ones that come and do like school engagements and play for the kids at elementary schools and things as community outreach. We had several in my daytime job is in education, so they come through schools all the time. Okay, he's frozen again. I think he's
Oh, no.
transferred. He just got home. His phone is probably connecting to his home Wi-Fi because he just backed into his driveway.
I
So-
also kind of like the beady stare that he's giving. That's
Yeah,
what he's
yeah, yeah.
frozen
He's
on.
very
He's just
skeptical.
watching.
We'll let him reconnect and
Yeah.
there he is.
Okay, sorry.
Swapped over. I assume he swapped over to your Wi-Fi. So
Yeah, it was trying to. Yeah, well, I was basically at two different bands. I was at the Fort Gordon down in Augusta, Georgia, and we did a lot of community stuff there. Concerts. They've got a nice river walk in Augusta with an amphitheater, and there was a concert series in the summer, so people would come down in the summer and just sit there by the river and listen. And but we went to a lot of schools to play. We did a lot of parades in every little town. You know, everybody's got like the Sweet Potato Festival or the Cotton Ball Festival or whatever, you know. And so we would go and do little parades all over the place, in addition to doing military ceremonies, things like that. When then I went to the 25th ID band in Hawaii, and we didn't do as much public stuff there. We were kept really busy with the military jobs. We also we went out to the field and played GI, you know, and ran around with rifles and stuff like that. We never did that at Fort Gordon, but it was fun. We would do parades down, I don't even remember the name of the street, but it goes right down Waikiki Beach and Diamond Head right there. It was beautiful there. But like I said, we didn't do as much of the community stuff there. So, and I kind of missed that. That was fun to go. Sometimes we would do like marching band clinics with high schools, because, you know, we were professional marchers. We didn't do all that fancy, all those pinwheels and patterns and stuff, but, you know, a lot of the basics of marching, of course, we all had all that down pat, you know. But it was good. It was kind of a hectic lifestyle, playing guitar, being in the rhythm section. Like every holiday I had to work. So, because there would always be the generals throwing a Christmas party or a New Year's party or something, you know. I was home from Hawaii one Christmas, and I was out on the farm, just walking out in the fields, and my wife at the time came down in a truck, and she's like, "There's a phone call for you," and I'm like, "What?" And she said, "Yeah, it's the band. They're calling." I'm like, "Oh, you know." So I drive up to the house.
It's like Secret Agent, but banned.
Yeah.
We have one more mission for you, Mr. Dibling.
Yeah, can you imagine? So they call me. They're like, "Hey, you got to be back here. The general's throwing a party." And fortunately, my flights were already set, and I was going to be back in time anyway. But if they weren't, I was going to have to, you know, change all my plans so I could be back for this party just to play some jazz, you know. But yeah, how important is the band? I don't know. I guess it's pretty important. But
well, that must be like very flattering for them to keep reeling you back and keep calling you up.
Sort of. It was really interesting because a lot of times you would go to the officers club and play they would be having drinks for some event that had happened. And normally they're all networking and talking. And while you're there, usually the POC for the gig would come over and he'd be like, "Hey, you guys sound really good, but, you know, could you turn it down just a little, because people are trying to talk," you know. And okay, so that could be very frustrating because a lot of nights you'd be, you know, they would come over like several times and were like, "Dude, if we turn down any more, we might as well just turn off."
Why are we in here?
Yeah. That's the musician's favorite critique is, can you turn it down?
Yeah, but when I was in Hawaii, we had a chorus attached to the band, and there was a girl in there that she was Samoan, and she could sing like just raise the hair on your arms, you know. And the jazz combo that I was in at the time, it was just smoking. Like everybody was on it. And we would go to those officers club gigs and people would actually stop talking to listen to the band, and they would like applaud at the, I mean, that was really, really cool. And that was one of those experiences where the musicians feed off of each other. I mean, I took solos, like when I was done, I'm like, who
What
just
just
did
happened?
that? Because that's not the way I normally play, but that positive energy just builds, and you've been to like a Sweet Tea show where, especially like the lit shows where there's a lot of audience participation. If the audience is really into it, the actors just do that much better, and it feeds, those nights that you go and the crowd just really isn't into it. It's harder to put it out there, so
Right.
so that was great. And it's funny. People are like, what'd you do in the Army? I'm like, I'm a guitar player, and they're like, what?
Is there an MOS for that? What's the MOS for guitar player?
Yeah, it used to be 02 Tango. But I guess since then they've just made one MOS for musician. Used to be the different instruments had separate MOS.
I've got to ask the question: what's the MOS 2 to Tango? Is there one? Yeah. Okay, that was a genuine question. I want to know if you're like, it's the salsa dancers. I'm like, heck yeah, it is. That's amazing. That's someone was planning stuff out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm gonna. Oh, go ahead.
No, you go. You go.
I go.
Okay. Zoom recording.
Zoom record. I'm going to. I know you were just talking about the lit shows, and I'm going to do a little ad break, a little ad read in case Dean wants to get out of his car and go into his house. And when we get back, I'll ask you guys about pre-show because you guys also do live music for that. But with that being said, let me pull up my little ad break. The Sweet Tea Shakespeare podcast is the official podcast for all things Sweet Tea Shakespeare, which is made possible by a number of lovely people and organizations. We are supported by a grant from the Arts Council of Fayetteville, the NC Arts Council, and by contributions from the city of Fayetteville, Cumberland County, and other supporting partners. We would like to take a moment to thank our Patreon supporters of all levels. This is made possible from your generous contributions, and we thank you. Want to join our lovely list of supporters? You can find us on patreon.com/sweetteashakes. Also, we are right in the middle of our stacked winter productions. We're in the middle of our tour for No Lit Sherlock, which has one more weekend. It's part of our Lit series, as we were talking about earlier. Our Raleigh branch is about to put up Henry IV Part 2. And our annual Christmas cantata, Behold, that we're talking about right now, is this weekend, December 8th through 10th at the Holy Trinity Episcopal Church. We are gearing up for 20,000 Leagues in January at the Fayetteville Pie Company. And if you're interested for joining our underwater cast or crew, check out our website or Facebook for more information. You can also get tickets at sweetteashakespeare.com/tickets and our Facebook at Sweet Tea Shakespeare, as you can see. Now, I need to pre-record those one day. It's a lot to take in. Good thing I got some water with me. Yeah. Obviously we have Behold going on, but you two are both notorious for helping out with our mainstream productions, our lit performances. Notorious, absolutely, for helping out with that. And I want to take a little moment to talk about live music with Sweet Tea Shakespeare in general. For any production, do you have like a preference? If you really like the Behold because it's very centric on music, if you like the Lits because they're very audience interactive, or if you like the mainstream because they're the closest to the cut and dry of the typical experience. So I want to get your guys' input on that. I don't know if we get Dean back.
Sure.
So I was trying to give some air.
I'm happy to wax poetical about it first. I would like to say, just because I didn't get my opportunity to say, I started on the piano when I was 5 years old because I was jealous that my sister was taking lessons and I didn't, and I wasn't. So I put on my Sunday school clothes and carried a toy briefcase to the piano teacher at one of my sister's rehearsals and asked her if I could start taking lessons. So that's how I started taking music lessons when I was 5. But I also started on the piano. I didn't learn the guitar until I got out of college, when I realized that it was difficult to carry a piano around with you and play music when you're around a campfire with a keyboard. So I was like, oh, maybe I should learn the guitar.
Well, luckily, I'm
Anyway.
about to green light the accordion piano, where it's a piano, but
Yes.
it's like it
Yep.
scrunches up like an accordion. So
Yep. And I play the trombone, which doesn't fit in with most of what we do in Sweet Tea. So
this is a little,
the big band approach doesn't really fit. Okay, so music and Sweet Tea. Dean, did you hear his question? He was asking about music in general.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So when you talk to Jeremy, have you already recorded that conversation? Justin,
what?
have you already recorded the conversation with Jeremy, or you're going to have one?
No, I'm going to have
Okay,
one.
okay.
I'm waiting.
So
for
I'm sure he'll
specific
correct me if
time.
I say anything wrong here. Jeremy, please do. I don't want to misstate anything. But so I came into the company in 2014 was my first year. To actually fun digression. My wife and I were looking for something to do on a weekend, and so we looked in the Fayetteville paper, or it might have been the Arts magazine that circulates, or at least used to, in Fayetteville, and we're like, oh, look, there's this Shakespeare in the Park kind of thing. We can go and catch it. And we went to the Poe House, which for a long time, our listeners who are familiar with Sweet Tea might know is where we performed for years and years in our outdoor venues at the arts at the Fayetteville Art Museum at the Poe House in downtown. So we went there and we were like, gosh, there doesn't seem to be many people here. And we walked around the corner into the main yard, and there was the cast, but they were definitely there doing load in the week before Tech Week. We had gone on the wrong weekend. So we walked in with our lawn chairs. We were like, we'd like to buy tickets. And they're like, this is load in. The show is next weekend. I was like, oh, and they all looked at us like, these adorable people have no idea what they're doing. Okay, bye. Right. So we went back and saw the show the next weekend. And liked it. If I remember correctly, the show was Love's Labor's Lost. That was my first experience with what a rain show looks like for Sweet Tea, because we had to carry the show. It rained, and then it didn't rain, and then it rained, and then it didn't rain. So we went inside, then back outside, then back inside again.
Oh my goodness.
Anyway, lots of fun. So that if I remember correctly, that was my first show. So they had music there. I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. Like they play at the time. Music with Sweet Tea was someone in the cast played the guitar, so they just stood around while they were waiting for audience to find their seats, and somebody strummed some music on a guitar, and they sang their favorite songs, kind of thing, right? And it was good. It was fun. I don't know what that is. I think I'm hearing feedback from Dean.
Dean is cloning himself currently.
There's two Deans.
There's two Deans.
There's two Deans.
The world is not ready for two Deans.
I think we're hearing. That's all right. I think we hear the noise coming out of your phone and into it. There you go. Okay. So anyway, Medina, that's my wife, Medina. She was like, I need to do something. She is a theater teacher, but she was like, I need to express myself artistically, so I'm going to audition to be in this Sweet Tea show. So she auditioned and got cast Caesar, and then she came back. She was like, hey, they need musicians. You play the guitar, but you've never played in front of people. This would be a great excuse for you to play in front of people. I was like, okay, I'll come along. And I did. And there was a music director for that show who didn't really do much. He handed out like 2 songs worth of sheet music and came to one rehearsal and then nothing else. And I was like, anybody who's worked with me as Dean, I'm sure, will not be surprised to hear I need more structure than that when it comes to playing music. I kind of just started doing it the way that I would like to see it done. And we did that show, and it was great. And then Jeremy said, hey, do you want to do that again for another show? And I did. And the first show that I did kind of was in charge fully myself was Winter's Tale, which we performed indoor at the Capitol Encore Academy. And that show, now I'm getting to finally answering your question. Sorry.
No, you're good. I love the story. I love the history, the origin story of it all.
That show, hopefully my timelines have been right up to now, but either way, your question is my favorite musical experience at Sweet Tea is a main stage Shakespeare show. Not the lit shows. The lit shows are a lot of fun. It's not Behold. I love playing Behold. It's great. But my favorite musical experience at a Sweet Tea show is a main stage show, and it's because of what we kind of started dipping our toes into in Winter's Tale. Previously, as I talked about, music was before the show, maybe a few songs of intermission to keep the audience occupied, right? In Winter's Tale, Jeremy was like, maybe we could set a set piece in the show. In this case, it was the first scene back after intermission. If you know Winter's Tale, I'll spare you. The SparkNotes version is halfway through the play. You're like 20 years later, right? Like there's a
big time
3
jump.
years later, right? SpongeBob meme. And so we needed something to make that apparent. And so we played an acoustic cover of Cyndi Lauper's Time After Time and staged an event on stage where the cast members would change out of their young costumes into their old costumes in front of people. So you could track, oh, this is old version of Bobby, right? That was young, now he's old. And it was really cool. And it was the first time we'd done something like that. So kind of inside jokey, some of us started calling it like Sweet Tea 2.0. Like it was like the evolution of how we started using music. But really it's nothing new. And this is where Jeremy he's the Shakespearean knowledge guy. I'm communicating what I know from mainly listening to him talk and hanging around Sweet Tea for so long. Right. But you mentioned earlier were early modern practices, right? And like Shakespeare wrote music into his plays. Of course, back then there's tons of songs sung in As You Like It, Romeo and Juliet. There's songs. It's written as songs. The words are there, but they would have a musician there playing the music for it, like on a lute or something, right, to make it happen. And of course, now when we think of Shakespeare, we think of the guys in togas with lutes. That's what Shakespearean music is. But that's not true. What's true is that it was modern music for the time the show was written in, right? So we have adjusted our practices to do the same thing, which is we use modern presenting music for those kinds of moments. And maybe we go a bit farther where we take songs that are actually recognizable and do creative things with them, right, on stage. So anyway, Winter's Tale was the first kind of hallmark moment of when we started doing things that way. And I think my favorite experience on stage was one Dean was part of, and we've done it twice, but when we remounted the showing of The Tempest a couple of years ago, we did Tempest and Pericles in rep in the summer. For our actors out there know what repertory is. Oh, Lord, it's crazy. But we did it in rep, and the band for that show was Dean and I, and Ryan, who's a fantastic drummer who's since moved on. Army moved him away to other ventures. But the music was great for that show, but it's a couple of my favorite set pieces ever. The shipwreck at the beginning of Tempest, set to music with slow motion interspersed in between, is one of my, like Dean mentioned, hearing somebody sing and hair standing up on your arms, and like moments like that are what make me really appreciate the way we use music in Sweet Tea. And there's many more of them I keep talking about, but that's the long-winded answer to your question. My favorite version of Sweet Tea music is the main stage shows for reasons like that.
Yeah, I'd say something similar. Although I've been a lot more active lately, in particular with the lit shows, which I like because it's more music. It feels more music centered to me. I mean, the story is still, of course, main importance, but there's a lot more music, and we integrate more music, I think, into the show itself. Lately, we've started doing a lot of mashups where we start with one song and kind of move it into another. If you're familiar with music, a lot of tunes have very similar chord progressions.
What?
Somebody will say, hey, this is just like, yeah,
it's a 4-chord song, play them in order. Yep.
Yeah, so we do that, but it's fun to find modern tunes that fit the story, which makes it just makes it fun, and it makes it fun for kids too, I think, because I think a lot of people think, oh, Shakespeare, man, that's boring and that's old, but Shakespeare really is. Sometimes there's there can be a little bit of a language barrier for people because we don't speak like that anymore. But when you really are listening to the stories, I mean, Shakespeare is bawdy, and it's like soap operas, so and so's having an affair and then murder somebody, and they're trying to cover this up. And I mean, it's like nonstop adventure. But I think a lot of people don't think that, they, like Jake was saying, people in togas and standing around speaking like marble statues or whatever. But so that's what I like about Lit, is that it's purposefully more it's toned down Shakespeare. We take the stories and kind of strip them back to their essentials, add in a bunch of music, add in a bunch of pop culture references, and of course add in alcohol. But
that goes without saying.
Yeah, but that makes it very appealing to the people that come out, and they have a really good time because of all that interaction of the story and the music and just having a good time. And I hope anyway that might lead people to come to some of our more traditional Shakespeare presentations that they might not have come otherwise. But once they've seen that Lit show, then we go, there might be something to this. Maybe we'll go see another one. Yeah, and we do, even with the main, the more traditional shows, there's more of a kind of well, Jeremy likes to talk about a ballpark atmosphere, where we try to have a food vendor, and there's drinks to have, to have, whether it's alcohol or just, lemonade or something. And we sit around usually in the open. We used to do a lot of stuff at the Poe House, and people would bring lawn chairs or blankets, and just, it's a very festive setting. There's interaction between the actors and the audience. And I think that really helps people, that Shakespeare is fun. It can be fun, you have to be open to it. But
well, I dare say go ahead. Sorry.
Well, I was just going to say, a lot of the storylines from Shakespeare, they're still very relatable to, it's stuff that could be happening in your own family right now, or well, hopefully your family's not murdering each other off, but it's anyway.
My sister just got bit by a poisonous snake.
See?
Oh, wow.
I told you.
Venomous snake. Yeah, I was just gonna say, because you brought up a good point, which is one of the company kind of ethos, part of the company ethos is like provide a lot of things so that everybody finds a way in, right? So like if they come to Shakespeare and they don't know Shakespeare, at least they're gonna have some good music to listen to. And if they don't think the music is good, then at least they can have some food while they're listening to it. And if they don't like the food, at least they can get drunk, right? Or whatever, right? But like I do think that since the approach to music has changed, and we've put more intentionality and thought into those pre-show and intermission experiences, even at a main stage show, right? The music is, if you listen, probably going to have some stuff that in it, probably going to have some stuff you've never heard of before, because that's how we tend to go. But all of it is themes on a variation, to use a musical term, right? Like it's thematic, and themes are universal, right? And I think the music has become good enough in the past, however many years we've been paying attention to it. We have folks who say, "Oh, I love coming to the show for the music." Like I love the show too, but like I don't miss pre-show. I show up in time to catch pre-show, which makes you feel good when you're one of the people who does pre-show. As a non-actor who's only, I think I've acted twice. Once because they needed an extra body, so I had to dress like a pirate and stand on stage, and I was a musician, so like I had to be I didn't have to say anything. And then the other, I had 3 lines as Charles the wrestler in As You Like It, when I got hit over the head with a metal chair. That was fun.
But if there's one instance to act, it's getting hit in the head with a chair.
That's
it's
right.
Totally worth it.
Yep. You want me to stand there and just get hit?
I can do that. I'm done.
That's me. Yep. But but yeah, I think people look forward to the music. I think it's one of our hallmarks now. And Dean is right. The lit shows definitely are an opportunity to like go a little wilder. We're using maybe plugged in instruments and doing the electric guitar rock band thing instead of the folk acoustic cover band thing, which I still like. I like both of them, but they're definitely different experiences.
Yeah. I want to take a little sidestep away from music, and we are coming upon the holiday season.
Uh-oh.
And it's very excited for some people, very stressful for most people. And I want to ask about some very maybe strange, maybe niche, or maybe just super common like family traditions you have. Like, for example, one of my absolute favorite things is not the Christmas tree, but is setting up the little itty bitty ceramic villages. That is like one of my absolute favorite things. And my granddad has a full working train. And granted, it's more entertaining because it messes up so much for him and he gets like super cranky about it. But so it's very amusing. But that's like hands down probably my favorite little holiday tradition. And if you guys have something weird, funny, and wacky, please, I need to know. I need to know.
How do you top that? I can't wait for Christmas to see Grandpa get all pissed off.
I don't know that I don't have anything weird and wacky. Christmas has always played second fiddle in our family. I think Thanksgiving is our family holiday, and obviously we're through with Thanksgiving, so I'm going to go backwards in time for this a bit more, I guess. But Thanksgiving's always been the family holiday. Christmas has been important, but the one that the family makes a point to be home for is Thanksgiving, right?
Gotcha.
I'm 600 miles from family. My sister is several hundred miles as well, so I don't get home as much as I'd like to. But Thanksgiving, you better bet we make it back. Part of the Thanksgiving tradition is how big our family turkey will be. So my dad for years and years and years raised turkeys and chickens, both, and provided them to the community at Thanksgiving or throughout the year. And he would save the biggest turkey for the family Thanksgiving. The man is he is not a farmer, but he comes from a family of farmers, so he's got a little bit of that still hanging on.
Yeah, sure.
And they are now. When I say large turkey, Dean knows because I've given him information on this before, but I'm not talking like a 30-pound turkey, right? Like, people think 30 pounds is pretty large, and for normal folks, I would agree that is probably true. But this year, we cooked a 50-pound turkey for Thanksgiving.
Oh my god!
And the record, if I remember the number correctly, is 63 or 64 pounds.
Holy god!
Even cook that? Does it go over a campfire or something?
yeah, on a spit in the backyard. No, actually, he puts it in at like so first of all, it fits in the oven. It's just a regular standard size oven. The rack has to be all the way down. The trick is the oven big enough, is the pan big enough, because a bird that big makes a lot of runoff, so you need a deep pan. We learned that lesson one year when we had to finish cooking the turkey in the church oven, because in the morning when we woke up, things had overflowed and the house was filled with smoke and we had to vent it out. So that was fun. But hey, I see children in the background. Dean, you have children walking through. Hey. But yeah, so it fits in the oven. He puts it in at like 10 o'clock the night before and cooks it at like 250 low and slow, and then wakes up at the buck crack of dawn and kicks it up to a higher temperature, and it's usually done around lunchtime. So but it's great. And then the man loves his leftovers. So that's, I mean, the big turkey, we used to get by with it because we would have 25 or 30 people at our house for Thanksgiving. The cousins and their family, all the grandparents, since COVID and moving forward, like this year we had 8 people, 8, 9, 10. I think there were 10 adults at Thanksgiving, and we still cooked a 50-pound turkey.
Holy god!
I think he probably still has leftovers right now.
I was just about to ask how the leftovers doing.
One year we cooked a small turkey, like only 20 so pounds or whatever, because he didn't raise them, got them from somewhere else. And he was so upset that the next day he cooked another one just so he would have leftovers.
Is he a fan of shepherd's pie?
I don't know. That's a great question. I can't say that ever we had it growing up. It wasn't until I moved out on my own that I learned what shepherd's pie was. So
because that's like kind of maybe just my region, my where I come from and stuff, but like that's the staple Thanksgiving leftover meal, and I have not gotten down with it. I cannot do shepherd's pie.
Is it actually shepherd's pie, like made with lamb, or is it made with beef? Because I think that's something different, right? That's like cottage pie or something. It's not shepherd's pie.
Yeah, well, no matter what it is, it's a pie made with mashed potatoes and peas in it, and
it's great
the combination great for some, not this one, if you know what I mean.
Not with peas in it, no.
How about you?
They
Dean?
just
Wacky traditions.
No, not really. But your story made me think of Christmas when I was younger, when I was a kid, because we would always go to my grandmother's house, which was not a very big, Grandpa was a farmer, and it was a sharecropper, so it was not a very big house. And I have an aunt and an uncle. My aunt had 5 kids. My parents had 5 kids. My uncle had 2. And we would get in that house, and they would have to put up, put the leaf in the table, and they had like a camp table and everybody was sitting around, there was a piano in there. So some people had to sit on the piano bench, and if you were on the side of the table away from the kitchen, which is where the only bathroom in the house was, once you sat down, you didn't get up. You sat over there. And if you sat on the other side of the table, you were the one that had to go, like when we needed more mashed potatoes, those people had to go get the mashed potatoes and bring it back to the table. So it was, it was a great time. All those people together. And of course, as you grow older, when you were just talking about it, people have moved on and passed away, some of them, and so we rarely, I haven't seen most of those people in a couple of decades, probably, so they're nice memories, but, life is dynamic. And so it doesn't, it just doesn't stay the same. So
Judson's disappointed. He was hoping that one of us would be like, yeah, every Christmas we put on our wife's clothes and play Mary and the Nativity, no, I'm sorry. Neither.
I was really hoping I could get a fight. I was hoping I could get a street fight video.
Yeah.
But I'll take what I can get. Beggars can't be choosers. I will say for audio listeners right now, I am in a very historic place in time in history right now. There's a train pulling up waiting for me, and a very, very miniature Tom Hanks is chilling about right here.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to take a quick moment because I cannot have a holiday episode of this podcast without talking about this movie. This is The Polar Express, starring Tom Hanks. And I think I at this point refuse to believe that it existed. Because in elementary school, we had the creme de la crop of holiday traditions, which was the Polar Express Day. And a bunch of my 90s, 2000 babies would understand, at least from our county, all of the schools did the little, you come in your PJs, you drink hot cocoa, you watch Polar Express. Everything is great and everything is grand. And that's what you did the entire day. Incredible day. And I think as I grew older, when I watched this godforsaken movie, that's what I think of. Simpler times and wonderful things. And now being 23 years old, I'm watching Tom Hanks in Uncanny Valley CGI playing a child, playing the conductor, singing about hot chocolate, which is still a banger, might I add. I will say that much. But then I have this really niche memory that every single year, every time I see this image, every time I see anything about this movie, I think of one scene in this movie where the kid is on a little repeated, a naughty list kid on this little screen, and he says, I didn't do it. And then I didn't do it. And it gets in my skull and it drives me absolutely insane. And I might be the only one who thinks about that, who remembers that, but I cannot stand this movie. This is why I'm sitting in this chair and not going on that train with Tom Hanks. So I want to know your guys' thoughts. If there is another I
thought for a minute
memory. What was that?
I thought for a minute, Judson, you were going to cry. These memories tearing up there.
We've seen the glimpse
very
of the
emotional.
actor's technique.
So yeah, I'm sure that there's a lot of people out there that have either this movie or like a same kind of like hatred for a movie, or the complete opposite. They are super infatuated with the movie, and it might be a tradition to watch said movie at this time. And I want to know your guys' thoughts.
So I don't hate the Polar Express movie. I mean, the CG stuff, like, you know, technology improves. So like you're looking at a movie 20 years old or whatever, however it is now. So
We
like,
really thought it was realistic. We thought it was
for the
real
time
people
it was
when
good.
came out.
It was groundbreaking stuff,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
But like, and I adore Tom Hanks. I'm not a huge fan of the movie, but it's because I told you in my day job, I'm an educator, right? So
Yeah.
like I spent 13 years teaching first and second grade, where I would read that book, because it's from a book, to my students. So I have a strong affinity for the book, and the movie just does what Hollywood does, which is we need to take this 20-page book and turn it into a movie. So we're going to make up a whole bunch of crap that's not in it.
20-page book with no words.
Yeah, it's exactly right. So that is my biggest qualm with the movie. I don't make it a point to watch it every year, but like I'll watch it with the niece and nephew if they've got it on or something,
Sure,
right? And I won't feel
sure.
bitter about it. As far as movies, like my wife and I both are like, all the Christmas movies for the entire month of December, does it have the word Christmas in the title? We'll probably watch it. The ones that get regular replay are the ones from my childhood, which is like the Home Alone movies,
Classic.
primarily.
I think
like
Dean's about to cry now.
Oh, I'm gonna cry.
National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, Ernest Saves Christmas, all of those kind of wacky, zany comedy ones are probably my favorite. Some of my family really likes watching Hallmark movies, and I can't stand them. But
Yeah. No.
How about
I was
you,
waiting
Dean?
for someone to make the Hallmark comment.
Yeah, not Home Alone. Good Lord. I detest those movies, but anyway.
Oh no.
I just how stupid. First of all, how stupid. They go on a trip and leave the kid. Like, really? Come
Yeah.
on. And then it's
Other
just
than that, the movie's completely believable.
right. And this dumbass kid can sorry. I don't know if I should
No, you're good. You
know,
this is
how
raw
dumb
emotion. I need to capture this. So
yeah,
go on ahead. Do what you
how
gotta do.
dumb are these crooks that this stupid little kid can like outfox them at every turn, you know? It's just like, and not only once, but for was it 3 movies?
Well,
Yeah.
twice, and then a different kid in the third one.
God. Anyway, no, probably my favorite Christmas movie is The Muppet Christmas Carol.
Oh yeah, it's a good one.
I just love, and I guess partly because it came out, I'm not sure when it came out exactly, but it was still popular when my kids were little and we were watching movies on repeat. You know, when you have kids, you're like, oh, let's see Pocahontas for the 7,000th time, you know. But that was one that we watched over and over, and I really,
the VHS of that in my household growing up was watched so much that it was distorted. You'd put it in and and it also had the infamous song that's no longer in it, right? Because you know there's like an entire song that was cut from the movie for various reasons that they reprise at the end of the movie, and you're like, why are they reprising this movie? This song wasn't in the show, but is the scene that his girlfriend in the Ghost of Christmas Past sings to him. So like all the modern, like if you go watch it on streaming, it's not there, but on the VHS that we had, it was there, and that's the only place I've ever seen it before.
I've forgotten about that.
Yeah. Oh, and that reminds me of no, it's gone straight out of my head. It reminded me and then disreminded me. That's what it was. So this is not an old movie, but it's one that I now like, and I've just watched it. Have you watched the Spirited movie with Will Ferrell and Ryan Reynolds yet?
No, I was on the fence about it. I was a little nervous about it, but
I'm a
I need
fan.
to hear about it. Really?
I watched it expecting. I even made a Facebook post about this. I was expecting Will Ferrell antics. If everybody knows what I mean by that, right?
Right.
And I like some Will Ferrell antics if I'm in the right mood. But what I got instead was a really heartwarming movie that I really liked. It's like a retelling. No, it's not. It's based on Christmas Carol loosely. It's about the spirits who do the haunting. So Will Ferrell plays the ghost of Christmas Present. And Ryan Reynolds is the person who they're trying to redeem. But it's a musical. I did not expect that either. And apparently the music was written by, I looked these guys up. They're the guys who did the music for Dear Evan Hansen. So if you know that musical, if you like the music from it, the books and music are by those guys. So the music was like actually good. I think a lot of problems, in my opinion, with new musical movies is the music isn't always as good as they want as maybe they should be, but the music in this one's pretty catchy. I would recommend going and watch it. I will watch it every Christmas now.
Oh my goodness, that is a high caliber recommendation for it to be a new tradition.
Doesn't mean I'm right, it just means I'm going to watch it. You might think I'm an idiot, but you
Yeah,
should watch
right.
it and watch it and decide for yourself. Is
Well,
it or not?
You do like Home Alone, so
I do. Both of
You
them.
lost Dean's respect and trust all in one.
just gonna have to look at Jake differently now.
That's the secret. That's the secret. I've never had his trust. In
Oh,
No, I'm just kidding.
nice one. I will say the best. I mean, I respect both of you, and you had decent answers, but unfortunately, you're both incorrect. And the best Christmas movie is "It's a Wonderful Life." Unfortunately,
I think I've only seen that once.
It's an incredible movie to me.
White Christmas is pretty good though. If you're talking about old
Pretty good.
movies,
That's
like
pretty
White
good too.
Christmas. Yeah.
I've always had that Wonderful Life bias, but it's not for everyone. It is absolutely not for everyone in this time period. It's a lot of heavy material, and it's also black and white, very, very part of its time. So if you're not vibing with the black and white movies, it's
Look, I know you've had
not gonna have a good time.
I know you've had Nathan Pierce on this podcast more than once.
Uh-oh.
And you are familiar with his level of impersonation abilities. But if you haven't heard his Jimmy Stewart, the next time you talk to him, your next lit show, ask him to throw in some Jimmy Stewart.
Yeah,
what he does.
We have 2 more shows. I'm gonna make sure
right.
he does it for both of them.
Yeah.
You know what's good, and I don't know. You can edit this out maybe if you want, but
I'm editing out all your parts. Don't worry.
okay, awesome.
Nice.
We're safe.
It'll just be one side of a conversation, just looking at the camera.
Yeah.
No,
And then
Dean,
Dean's
what do you
just
think about
moving
this?
around his house and driving his car.
Another good show to see for Christmas is the Carols. I think it's called the Carols that the Gilbert puts on. And I think they do it every year. Dina and I just went to see it last year, and it was excellent. The story's great. Their production was great. And it's a really clever. It's a story set in World War II where they want to have the Christmas dance, but all the men are gone because they're off at the war, and how they cope with that. But it's a really good show. It gives you that warm and fuzzy. Have you seen it, Jake? Or
No, I don't think so. I know they did. Is that what they did now instead of A Christmas Carol? Because they used to do A Christmas Carol like every year.
I think that's it. It's the Christmas Carols.
Okay, so it's a different version of it. They used to do the or did they do It's a Wonderful Life? They did something and they switched to another thing. So maybe that's what they replaced it with. I'm just conflating my stories, perhaps, but I have not seen it.
Again, fact checker. We need that fact checker.
Yeah.
Sweet Tea Snopes.
Yep. Yeah.
I didn't know. I had no idea. But what's it about?
It's a little town in World War II, and they always put on a Christmas dance. And this is if I remember the story correctly. And they want to do it again, but of course there's all this rationing and all that, and kind of on hard times. And most of the men are gone because they've been drafted or whatever. They're off at the war. But anyway. So they, one of them, like they're kind of bummed. They don't, because it's not going to be as good as it was before and all this and that. But they're sisters, 3 sisters. And I think Carol must be, I think, their last name. So that's why it's the Christmas Carols. And again, I could have this all totally wrong.
I'm going to laugh if I go to see this show and Dean's described it and I get there and what it really is Shrek the Musical.
It's like Home Alone.
It's the Home Alone the musical. He's like, it was so good.
It was really good. The music was good. It was definitely, but being I'm an educator too, and we have kids, and December is just crazy. All this stuff going on at work, and then you got the hold. You might have some other show. We got to go out of town, see relatives and all that. And so it was really like, because I've seen this show advertised for several years, and I'm like, we just never got to it, and I don't know why. I don't know what happened to our schedule, but we had like this window that we could
The
go
stars
see it.
aligned.
Let's
Yep.
go, so.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well,
Yeah.
good. I'm about to wrap, but before I do, I wanted to first shout out audio listeners. I'm sorry, but you cannot see this gathering up. I know Jake's looking a little confused, but what I can't talk ever. But we are wearing glasses. We have a little beard, and some more than others. We're getting past that point. We're all wearing gray. This was not planned or scripted, and both those musicians have guitars on their walls. So you want to talk about stars align? Now this is some stars align, and I'll tell you what. Also, a little note: we've been planning this episode for so long. We did everything we could to do it in person, and every single time we tried to, the world.
Judson's car broke. Oh, yeah.
Judson's car broke. Yeah, well, you don't have to say all that now. Judson's car needed a new belt. They had Behold rehearsals. I had no lit rehearsals, a no lit show, and So unfortunately, we are on Zoom today. I apologize dearly to Jake especially, but to the rest of our viewers and listeners out there. I hope you guys can forgive us for this colossal mess up. But we'll do better. We'll do an entire redo. We'll cancel this whole episode and just re-record it.
Yeah. Word for word though. If you could give us a transcription so we can just read it. Yeah.
But yeah. So tell me about the show times, location, about Behold this weekend, and who's musicians are.
Yeah, so Behold is this Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. So that's December 8th, 9th, and 10th as your of 2022. If you're listening to the show currently, if you are listening to the show next week, and I said this weekend, it's not, so you've missed it. Yep. But it is December 8th, 9th, and 10th. Showtime, I'm the worst. I know our call time. I'm not even sure I know the show time. Probably 7, I'm gonna guess. But go to the website and look. It's on the website. Go there.
Yeah, when you get your tickets too, you'll see it on that.
Yeah. And forgive me for just knowing when I have to be there.
Hey, it's good to. Yep. It's better to know what time you're needed rather than the audience, to be honest. But
there are a number of people in the show besides just Dean and I. As talented as Dean is, he can't do everybody else's job, so we have to have other people too. So. I'm in it playing guitar. Dean's in there playing bass. We've got a Sweet Tea recurring cast member, Evan Bridenstine, who some of you know from his work at Methodist University. He's a professor there, and he's acted for us several times. He's playing the keyboard for us. Joel Wise is playing drums for us. He is a pastor in a church semi-locally. His wife, Jessie, is a Sweet Tea regular. You've seen her in a number of lit shows and other productions of ours. She's singing in the show. And who is one of the members of the All-American, who is another Sweet Tea regular.
Wait. Pause. I'm sorry, totally interrupting you. Right after Jesse, you sounded super drunk because Zoom and internet.
I went full robot. Okay.
You did. You went full drunk robot.
Tricks on you. I was actually talking that way. Okay.
Oh my God, he's so talented.
So after Jesse, I said, and we're back. Marie Lowe, who's a Sweet Tea regular and has been for a long time, is playing cello for us. Jonathan Breitzer, you've seen playing violin at a number of Sweet Tea productions, is playing violin with us. Jeremy is singing. I'm doing a little singing. Jessica Osno, of the original Sweet Tea folks, is singing with us. Tracy Kuhn Zapata, who we all know from everything Sweet Tea these days and has been on this podcast numerous times. She's in the show. Joyce Borum, who's another one. A whole bunch of faces that you have seen doing Sweet Tea things at various times and places are in this show. So if you come to the show, you'll probably see someone who you've seen in a Sweet Tea show before. If you haven't seen a Sweet Tea show before, then we'll all be new to you, and you can decide who is your favorite. All right. And if I missed anybody, I think I got everybody. Oh, James Garcia is playing mandolin with us and a little bit of banjo. So I think that's it. If anybody from the show is listening and I left you out, I'm so sorry. I
need a full apology video right now.
Right.
So
Holy Trinity Episcopal Church.
Right. At maybe 7:00. You'll see on the website at sweetteashakespeare.com/tickets. 1 weekend only, limited engagement, limited seating. Make sure you get there quick, and you get them now. unless you're listening or watching this afterwards, in which you missed out. Get better luck next time. We'll see you next year.
Make it one of your favorite holiday traditions. We want to be one of your traditions. Come and listen to us.
That'd be so nice. So thank you both for joining me on this wonderful holiday edition of the Sweet Tea Shakespeare podcast. See you next time, whenever that may be. Probably going to be more either No Lit talk or 20,000 Leagues talk or Henry IV talk. We cannot wait to see you guys again. And if you'll excuse me, I have a train to catch. So thank you guys so much. And have fun celebrating whatever you celebrate. We are so happy that you have joined us today.
Dean and I are going to rehearsal, so we'll see you later.